Osaka is known for the phrase kuidaore, which means eating yourself to excess. And that's what we're gonna do. Over the past 5 months, we've been eating a lot, and hopefully we've trained enough for this. We've had street food, snack food, and sweeties. Now, we're going for Osaka's meals. Let's do this. The Kansai area is known for a lot of the great foods, including a lot of flour-based foods such as takoyaki, noodles, and in this case, okonomiyaki. Okonomiyaki is a savory pancake, usually filled with cabbage and a whole bunch of other fillings, and then topped with Worcestershire basil and sometimes mayonnaise. In this case, we got a pork okonomiyaki, but this place also does something called negiyaki. Negi is spring onions, so they put a lot of spring onions inside, hopefully. This one is closer to a Korean pajeon or a Chinese pancake. I believe it's influenced by those two countries. For the negiyaki, we got the beef tendon, which has a mix of tendon and konjac jelly. Let's give it a go. Let's give it a go. Proper Kansai style okonomiyaki for the first time. This is the pork okonomiyaki. Cheers. Cheers. You can taste the bitty shoga, the pickled ginger that they put in there. I feel like it's not as sweet as an okonomiyaki made in the Hiroshima style, which is usually slathered completely in the sauce. Whereas this one, they just drizzle a bit on top. Although it's mostly badger, they flavor it really well. The cabbage is minced, so you get little sparks of crunchiness. But definitely, I think my favorite part is the pickled ginger in the middle. I think they throw in some crispy bits as well. Once in a while, you get something that's so crispy, I don't think it could possibly be the batcher. That's really tasty. It's not as salty, not as sweet as the Hiroshima one, but it's still really flavorful. I do feel like it's a lot lighter. This one is the negiyaki with beef tendons. There's a lot of spring onions in here. It's like practically green. As compared to an okonomiyaki where they mix in all the toppings into a batter, this one is made by pouring the batter into a flat disc, putting all the fillings in, and putting another spoonful of batter on top. Cheers! Wow, that spring onion is so fragrant. And since the batter is so thin, it's really crispy as well. The inside is so fluffy. For some reason, it's almost like an omelet in the middle. It's mostly salty. The meat is really tender as well. I can see why this is very popular. Definitely try the negiyaki if you come over, because it is a specialty of Osaka as well. But of course, okonomiyaki is as well. So give both a go if you can. Which one do I like better? I cannot tell you. They both have really good features. And they're both really good. Would recommend either one of them. That was good to the point where I don't know if I have anything else to say about it. Definitely recommend this place. It's super delicious. There was a crowd when we came, so you can expect it's pretty good. Even though it's gigantic, I don't feel like incredibly full. What I was most surprised about was that it's not bulky or too doughy or rich, which is what I expected from some okonomiyaki. It's light, it's tasty, it's recommended. Moving on. What are we having tomorrow? You'll find out. It's lunchtime. That means we've got to try another one of Osaka's specialties. This time is abura kasu udon. Abura kasu is when you take beef intestines or some sort of the offal and you render all the fat out of it until you get just the leftover collagenous, meaty, proteiny bits. And it's supposed to be very much an Osaka specialty. We're here at a chain, Kasuya, which specializes in exactly that. I've got the kasu udon. Let's try it broth. It's very savory. It's more meaty than the other udon broths that we've had, and it's probably because the kasu is sitting in there. Since kasu is made from beef offal, or the intestine bit, you get a really strong beef flavor alongside the salty, savory, nasty fish meat. Let's try it with the udon now. You gotta slurp. Nice. It's so true. I can't tell what the stretchy thing is, but I guess it's a mix of the kasu. Let's try. I still don't know what the stretchy thing is, but it's very concentrated, sweet soy sauce flavor. Very salty, very sweet. The green thing? The very floppy thing. But since there's not much of it, it's not too strong. It's mostly just a slightly slimy texture, but not that strange at all. The kasu is super easy in texture, and flavor. If you've ever had like pork crackling that you have soaked in gravy or something like that, it's similar to that texture, a little bit chewy, but quite firm. That's really, really delicious. Very good.
I have kitsune udon. I'm told that the broth is a lot sweeter than the kasu one, so let's give it a go first.
Kitsune udon is a fried tofu pocket sitting on top of normal udon, and it's a Kansai specialty. It's considered an Osaka style comfort food.
It's lighter, not as salty. It's not really a soy sauce flavor, but it is sweeter. You know, the inari sushi, the tofu skin sushi, it has that sort of a sweetness to it. Yeah, the noodles. It's so thick. It's nice and chewy. It's not flavorless, even though it's not salty. And the soup is quite light, you can't quite taste it, but they season the noodles probably really well as they make it. And we'll have a go at the tofu skin, the inari. Nice and sweet, and it's basically a sponge. It just soaks up all the broth. It's really flavorful, really sweet. For something so simple, you'd think that there wouldn't be anything special, but all of the components are really well made. This is really good. It comes with some meat as well. That's nice.
That was delicious. It was so good. I used to not like udon that much because they tend to be flavorless if you don't cook it well. But this one is cooked well. I was also a little skeptical because it's a chain. I guess this chain is really good, and that's why it's a chain. Highly recommend this place. Even if you're not too keen on trying kasu udon, which might be a bit strange to some people, just the kitsune udon, or they also have other udon as well, is probably going to be very good as well. Anyway, on to the next meal. Yeah!
We're here at Juken, the supposed inventor of Neibutsu style curry. So this is different from normal curry in that back when curry was becoming popular after the Second World War, a lot of people ordered it, but they found that the rice cooled down too fast while they were waiting to be ordered. So what they did instead was mix the rice into the curry sauce, served it on a plate so the whole thing was steaming hot, then topped it off with a raw egg mixed in. The recommended style of eating here is pouring a little bit of the Worcestershire sauce onto your curry, and then breaking the yolk of the egg and mixing the whole thing in. So that's what we're gonna do. Let's try the curry just by itself. This is the curry Neibutsu kare. That familiar, very Japanese curry flavor. Not very strong in the spices. Let's try it with the egg and the sauce. It's both a lot more savory and a lot more creamy because of the egg. I think the sauce helps it become a little more salty and savory. It is a Worcestershire sauce after all, so essentially you're adding a little bit of MSG. It's delicious. It's not high-class food by any standard, but it's really good, simple, sort of home-style comfort food.
It is kind of the familiar taste of Japanese. Not as heavily spiced as you would for Indian. I think it definitely suits the Japanese palate. A little bit spicy in terms of people who definitely cannot eat spice. Be a little careful. The fact that it's mixed together, I used to do this as a kid, but I actually really enjoy eating it like this. So for those who wouldn't enjoy it mixed together, you can still order the original curry with the rice and sauce.
We also got the Neibutsu style of daishi rice, which in this case is a tomato-based sauce beef stew. And she said not to put the sauce onto it and just eat it as it is.
Daishi Neibutsu beef. Right off the bat, you taste mainly tomato, so it's a little more sour than the curry one. In fact, I don't think there's curry spices. It's more like a beef stew. Not salty at all.
Is that why they don't recommend the sauce with
I think so. Yeah, the Worcestershire sauce is probably to cut down the spice and how creamy the curry version is, but in terms of the Haishi style beef, since it's mostly tomato base and tomato flavors, I don't think you need any of that at all. The egg makes it a little bit more sweet. I think the difference is mainly that they put in onions and peas in the tomato one, so that you get a little more texture as well.
Oh, I really like that. I don't mind sour from it, so I actually quite like that. It is sour, but again, the egg does mellow it out a lot. The sauce flavor? Is it like a ketchup flavor? It's not really a fresh tomato flavor, but it does taste like tomatoes.
Maybe like canned pureed tomato?
Canned pureed tomatoes, but it is very concentrated, so maybe tomato paste or tomato ketchup.
But I don't think it's as simple as tomato ketchup.
That was really delicious.
It was more like home comfort food than it was good food, but it was still good. I don't know which one I like better.
That's true.
Because as you flip back and forth while you're eating them, they have different components of good. The Haishi beef with the tomato base is not spicy at all in the slightest. But the curry, if you can't eat spicy food at all, I would recommend going for the Haishi beef.
Definitely this place is by no means special or the best curry in any way, but it is very much representative of Osakan culture and the history, especially following World War II. Definitely give it a try if you have time and you want to see something a little different. Service is lovely too. They're all like aunties. So much fun. Anyway, what's for tomorrow? We'll find out. Let's go. Another night, another dinner. Today's one is Udontsukiyaki at Kafuku restaurant. So that's udon and sukiyaki, which is a hot pot. Let's find out how it is.
Sukiyaki is a slightly higher end meal, and in this case I believe this restaurant makes their udon fresh from scratch. So one set is 3,800 or so, around that price, and you have to have a minimum order of 2 I believe, obviously 1 per person. It is quite a luxurious meal. There's a lot of things involved here. I'm honestly not sure we can eat the whole thing. There's a whole bunch of vegetables, some meat, seafood, and of course a lot of udon. So let's get stuck into it. Other than the meat, I believe most of the vegetables have actually been blanched already, so you can start eating only a few moments after it's been in the pot. Then we also have a side of, looks like limes, spring onions, and I'm not quite sure what that is, but that's for seasoning for you to eat. Should we try the broth? It's light. It's not sweet at all actually, which is what I expected. It's very deep in flavor, but how do I describe it? It's like super savory, but not very salty. It tastes a lot of mushrooms and only very slightly of seafood actually.
I have a question as to whether at what point you throw in the udon, but it's okay, let's get started. This is the cabbage. The soup doesn't look that hot, but it's quite hot. It needs to be a little longer before it starts to soak up flavor.
I squeezed a bit of lime in my broth. Very excited, let's try. I definitely added too much. The brightness, the freshness of the lime makes it super delicious.
So I guess it's a strong lime.
It is quite a strong lime, yes. I didn't put that much in there.
So why is this one in particular special to Osaka?
So the restaurant that did Udontsukiyaki originally was from Osaka, although not Osaka city, it's from a city just outside of Osaka. And it's just something that they tend to eat. I think because Osakan people really like flour-based foods, like the whole noodles, pancakes, takoyaki, all that kind of thing. They tend to enjoy even sukiyaki with some noodles.
I put in some lime, spring onions, and I think it might be chili, even though it's not spicy. I'm gonna assume it's chili because she did say it was some spice. Let's try it. It's a little sweeter like that. Apart from the chicken, the rest of the meat, which is seafood, obviously doesn't take too long. So after you dunk it in, just give it a quick stir and then pull it back out again. You can see it's cooked straight away, so let's try it. Squid. It's really chewy. It's not quite tough yet, but we might have left it in for too long already. It's really flavorful. I'll try the prawns. Sweet. Let's try the eel. It's firmer than I expected. More like fish, but a little bit on the mushy side.
There's lots of tiny bones in the eel. Be careful. This is the mochi. She said it expands a lot when you put it in the soup, so don't leave it in there for too long. We're pulling it out now because it's quite soft already.
Oh, so chewy. It's super chewy. Let's try the udon. I think it doesn't need to take too long. Just plunk it in there because it's already cooked. It's not as soft as I expected it to be, but it takes up all the flavors of the broth and also the ingredients that went into the broth. It's not a necessary addition to sukiyaki, but if you like that sort of thing, it's a good thing to try. I just noticed the name of the store, Kafuku, is actually engraved in the sukiyaki pan.
Their logo is an owl, which is why the shape of the carrots is an owl.
Super delicious meal. It was really filling. There's a lot in there.
There's so much.
So much. Personally, I don't think udon-suki is like a super necessary thing to get. If you have sukiyaki and you chuck some udon noodles in there, it's pretty much just that. It's not necessarily something you have to go out of your way for or make time for in terms of if you're in Osaka. If you're looking for good udon, this seems like a great place to go. They do have a la carte menus, so if you just want a single dish that's not too expensive, you can still come here and give it a go. The broth was super delicious, and the udon noodles are quite nice. Even though they were in the soup for quite a while, especially because we took a while eating them, we were so full. They didn't get super soggy or bloated, which I was surprised about. Anyway, on to our next meal. You can never have too much fried food. Kushikatsu is a really famous thing to eat when you're in Osaka. Here in Shinsekai area, there's a ton of places which do Kushikatsu. We're here at Kushikatsu Daruma. I think this is the first shop that opened, though there are plenty of them around this area. You can recognize them by the angry looking man on the outside. It tends to be a drinking food, but we don't drink, and we're gonna still eat anyway. Some rules to eating kushikatsu. Obviously don't double dip. Kushikatsu Daruma is the first shop to actually implement the no double dipping rule. It's hygienic for everyone else, and also so you don't alter the taste of the actual dipping sauce. If you want extra sauce, use the cabbage in the bowl, but only use your fingers because your chopsticks might touch other things. If you want to add salt onto your kushikatsu skewers, put it onto your plate first. Don't do it before you dip it into the kushikatsu sauce, because that will change the flavor of the sauce as well. Also, do not put salt on the cooling rack. That might alter the taste of other foods that will be put onto the rack. Use the tube to put your skewers in. After all, they'll count those to know exactly how much you've ordered. Generally, don't mess it up for other people and keep things as they are. Let's try it out. This one's doteyaki. Doteyaki is a combination of radish and beef sinew, which has been simmered in miso and mirin. It's an Osakan specialty, so something you should also try if you're in this area. This one's sumune, which is a chicken meatball. The eggplant is next. The eggplant is super tender. This one's red ginger. It's an Osaka specialty, but you can find it throughout Kansai. Benishoga is the pickled ginger, but in this case they deep fry it, so something different. This one's the cheese one. With the cheese one, he recommends just salt. Round two, we got a special meat set. So this is kuroge wagyu. This is Iberico pork, and this is a special kind of chicken. Here's the beef. I shouldn't have dipped it in. Oh really? That's beautiful. That was a lot of fun. I'm full. But be careful, you can get a little spinny, especially because you don't really realize how many skewers you've been eating, even though the skewers are really quickly piling up in your cup. What was your favorite? There were a lot of good things. The recommended menu is a really good menu to refer to. I think it included beef tongue, the kuroge wagyu, mozzarella, camembert, hamo fish, and the maguro tuna, all of which were really, really good. The maguro tuna was one of my favorites actually.
I quite like the quail's egg and the tomato, even though I don't like tomato usually. Well, it's quite a surprise.
And definitely order the 3 set of the special meat ones because they turned out to be really, really good. The bowl was doteyaki, which is stewed beef sinew.
That's highly recommended by me. It's sweeter than anything else, so it's a nice thing to turn back to while you're eating the skewers.
In fact, pretty much everyone in the shop that was there when we were there ordered the doteyaki. The 2 people beside us ordered 2 of them each.
If you're not sure what to order, there's an English menu, and you can order as many times as you want.
Not sure if other places will have English menus, but due to Osaka being a huge hub for tourists, they likely will do. Just ask them if they have one.
Our server was very friendly and told us which seasoning to put onto our individual skewers, such as salt, pepper, and the dipping sauce. So if you're not quite sure, just ask. They will probably recommend you what they prefer to eat on theirs.
Tip is shio is salt, kosho is pepper, and sauce is sauce.
But they'll probably just point because it's right in front of them.
Otherwise, Kushikatsu Dharma is an excellent place to come to. We highly recommend. Where you can find this restaurant, as well as everything else we ate in this video, which everything was super delicious, you can look on our website, which will be linked in the description below.
As to where we are now, follow us on Instagram at TwinspeakEatGo.